Hey guys, tonight we begin with a little journey back in time. Not to the gilded halls and heroic quests you've probably seen plastered across every romanticized tapestry, but to the festering, grimy reality that was life for, 90% of the population. Forget the castles, the valiant knights, the damsels in distress waiting prettily by a stained glass window. You wouldn't last a day. You'd be lucky to last an hour before you'd find yourself gagging on the pervasive stench of humanity and animal waste that clung to every single thing. So tell me, what time is it for you, where you are, in your cushy, germ-free future? Because for you, right now, it's dawn. And you wake up, not to the gentle chirping of birds or the sunbeams kissing a fresh linen sheet, but to the gut-punching reality of your own body's revolt. The air, thick and chill with the damp of the hovel, carries the stale odor of 1,000 unwashed nights. It's a miasma of old sweat, mouse droppings, cooking smoke, and the faint yet persistent tang of what can only be described as ancient, congealed misery. Your straw palate, lumpy and scratchy beneath your aching bones, has shifted again during the fitful hours of semi-sleep, leaving you half uncovered to the biting cold. Your threadbare blanket, coarse and smelling vaguely of unwashed sheep, seems to silently judge your pathetic attempts at warmth. You groan, a sound like gravel shifting in a forgotten grave, because every muscle in your back screams in protest, a symphony of splinters and aches that are as familiar as the rhythm of your own wretched heart. Your mouth tastes like a forgotten boot, coated in a dry crust of yesterday's meager rations and the accumulating filth of your perpetually unbrushed teeth, a thick, metallic taste, a testament to the iron deficiency that gnaws at your strength. You might consider spitting, but what's the point? The floor is already a composite of compressed dirt, straw, and generations of spilled slop. It's a foundation of accumulated rot and forgotten accidents. The first order of business, as it is every morning, is the call of nature. No porcelain thrones here, my friends. You swing your legs over the side of the pallet, the chill air instantly attacking your bare skin, and grope for the earthenware pot you keep tucked under your bed, the one that serves as your chamber pot. It's always fuller than you expect, a heavy, cold weight in your hands, the contents within sloshing ominously. You try to be quiet, to not wake the others stirring restlessly in their own straw nests nearby, but the creak of your joints and the muffled slosh are impossible to completely muffle in the suffocating silence of pre-dawn. The relief is immediate, a small, fleeting mercy in a life devoid of genuine comfort. But it's quickly followed by the fresh wave of the pot's pungent odor, mingling with the general funk of the room. Ah, the sweet perfume of human waste, a daily reminder of your place in the grand scheme of things. You stretch, or try to. Your limbs feel like rusted hinges, each movement a creak and a groan, a grinding protest against the very act of waking. Your hands, already calloused and stiff from endless toil, feel like strangers' claws. You rub at your eyes, heavy with sleep, and the gritty sensation under your eyelids is a reminder of the dust that perpetually coats everything, settling into every crevice, every hair follicle. Your hair, by the way, feels like matted crust and straw, an unholy nest for the persistent lice that have made your scalp their personal, endlessly irritating amusement park. Scratching offers a brief, almost cathartic release, but you know, deep down, that you're just moving the problem around, displacing the tiny, parasitic invaders from one section of your skull to another. What a joyful start. Wouldn't you agree? Sound pleasant? Think again. This isn't just a bad morning. It's every morning. The first glimmer of light begins to filter through the tiny, unglazed opening that serves as your window, illuminating the swirling motes of dust in the air, each one a tiny particle of history, of disease, of discarded detritus. It's a grim dawn. Always, you reach for the jug of water by the door, a heavy ceramic vessel that, like everything else, feels rough and unwelcoming in your hands. You pour a small amount into a chipped wooden bowl, the water itself murky, tasting faintly of earth and, if you're honest, whatever animal might have died upstream last sennight. It's not for drinking. Not yet. This precious liquid is for a token attempt at washing your face, a futile gesture against the accumulating filth that clings to your skin like a second hide. You splash it on, the cold biting at your skin, and rub roughly with a corner of your sleeve. No soap, of course. Soap is for lords, and perhaps the occasional incredibly wealthy merchant who can afford such outlandish luxuries. For you, the most you can hope for is to smear the top layer of grime around a bit. You look down at your hands, rough and permanently stained, and a wave of weary shame washes over you. No amount of splashing this questionable water will ever make them truly clean. It's a losing battle, and you knew that before you even began. The hunger, a dull ache at first, begins to sharpen, a persistent gnawing in your gut. Breakfast. The word itself feels like a cruel joke, a mockery of anything truly nourishing. You move towards the fire pit, a small, smoky depression in the center of the hut, where a perpetually smoldering embers casts a faint, flickering glow. You stir the contents of a thick iron pot hanging over it, a lumpy, grayish mass that passes for pottage. It's a thin stew, made from whatever scraps could be scrounged. Yesterday's leftover grains, a few withered root vegetables, perhaps a tiny, unidentifiable piece of bone, simmering in murky water. It smells bland, watery, and vaguely like rot. Comparing it to a graveyard stew wouldn't be far off, given its color and dubious origins. Each spoonful is a promise of sustenance, not pleasure. It's a functional fuel, a grim necessity to keep the engine of your misery running for another day. You scoop it into your wooden bowl, the rough grain of the wood scraping against the spoon, and add a piece of panis rusticus, coarse bread, tough and dense, a crust of hardened flour and water. It tears at the roof of your mouth as you chew, a dry, tasteless ordeal that still manages to fill you with a heavy, leaden feeling. The only seasoning is the lingering taste of regret, from the choices that led you to this existence, and the ever-present flavor of dust. You wolf it down quickly, not savoring it, but simply getting it over with. There's no point in lingering over something that offers so little. Your body, already a testament to enduring hardship, simply demands the fuel, regardless of its quality. It's a continuous, low-grade assault on the senses. Every morning, the sun, a pale, watery disk, finally manages to penetrate the gloom of the hovel, casting long, distorted shadows across the dirt floor. Outside, the village is stirring, a cacophony of hacking coughs, distant animal bleats, and the low murmur of human voices, each one thick with the residue of sleep and cold. The air, even outside, promises to be thick with the smells of wood smoke, damp earth, and the indescribable tang of human habitation. You grab your tunic, patched and repatched so many times it's more mend than original fabric, and pull it over your head. It's still damp from the night air, and the coarse wool scratches against your skin, a constant, low-level irritation. The rough-spun breeches are no better, chafing at your thighs as you pull them on. No point in trying to look good, or even presentable. This isn't a place for vanity, it's a place for survival, and your clothing reflects that brutal truth. Every stitch, every fray, every patch is a testament to persistent use, to continuous wear, to the sheer, grinding reality of not being able to afford anything better. It's a uniform of hard labor, a perpetual reminder of your station, and it's one that will never truly be shed. Stepping outside is like entering a new layer of the same pervasive filth. The ground immediately outside your hovel is a churned morass of mud and refuse, a perpetually damp, squelching horror that clings to your worn leather boots. Each step is a struggle, the thick, gluey mud threatening to pull your foot right out of your boot, demanding extra effort just to remain upright. The air here is even heavier than inside, laden with the pungent aromas of the communal cesspit downwind, the ever-present scent of animal dung from the wandering pigs and chickens that serve as the village's unofficial sanitation crew, and the general, sweet, sour perfume of human excrement that seeps from every crack and crevice. It's a smell that gets into your clothes, your hair, your very pores, a constant, unwelcome companion. You try to breathe through your mouth, but the taste of it still reaches you, a bitter, chemical tang that makes your stomach churn. You suppress the urge to choke on the air, knowing it's a futile gesture. This is simply the air you breathe. The path to the fields, or wherever your toil takes you today, is not much better. It's a winding, uneven track, riddled with potholes that collect stagnant water, forming murky, iridescent puddles that reflect the dull sky like diseased eyes. You navigate them instinctively, your feet finding the slightly higher, firmer ground, avoiding the deeper, more treacherous pits. Your gaze is fixed on the muddy path, not on the grim, surrounding landscape. There's nothing to see out here, but more of the same. More hovels, slightly better ones for the village elder, perhaps a small enclosed garden patch here and there, but mostly just the bleak, open field stretching out, waiting for your labor. The wind, a biting, relentless chill, seems to delight in finding every gap in your inadequate clothing, sending shivers down your spine that have nothing to do with fear and everything to do with bone-deep cold. It whips at your hair, stings your eyes, and seems to carry the very essence of despair on its breath. You pass other villagers, their faces etched with the same lines of perpetual exhaustion, their shoulders slumped under the invisible weight of their daily burdens. They offer brief, grunted greetings or perhaps a terse nod. There's no effusive conversation, no cheerful banter. Every word, every gesture, seems to be a measured expenditure of precious energy. Their clothes are as tattered as yours, their hands as gnarled, their eyes as dull. These are your compatriots in misery, fellow travelers on the slow, grinding road to an early grave. You're all just trying to get through the day, one endless chore after another. This is the collective breath of your community, a slow, shared sigh of resignation. The air is thick with it, the very soil seems to embody it. And you are just another thread in this rough, unyielding tapestry of medieval life. The rhythm of the land itself is slow, relentless, and utterly unforgiving. The sun, when it finally manages to break through the perpetual cloud cover, is a weak, indifferent observer. It offers little warmth, only serves to highlight the pervasive dust that coats everything from the leaves of the sparse trees to the very hairs on your arms. Your progress is measured not in miles, but in the growing ache in your muscles, the increasing stickiness of your sweat, as you trudge along the path, each step a deliberate, weighted commitment against the sucking mud. Your boots, already caked in crust of yesterday's dried mud, accumulate more, becoming heavier with every stride. The sound of distant animal cries, a cow lowing, a dog barking, are not comforting sounds of rustic life, but simply further confirmation of the brutal realities of a world that is constantly extracting its pound of flesh. You can almost feel the earth itself pulling at you, demanding its due, demanding your effort, your pain, your life. Arriving at the field is not a moment of arrival, but a new beginning of the same old struggle. The expanse of raw earth stretches out before you, unyielding and demanding, an empty canvas waiting for your sweat, your muscle, your very lifeblood. This field, whether it's for planting, weeding, or harvesting, is your cathedral, your prison, your grave. The tools are already laid out, heavy and cumbersome, made of rough wood and crude iron. Your hands instinctively reach for the familiar weight of a hoe or a digging stick, the rough grain of the wood immediately chafing against your already hardened palms. The metal head is dull, perpetually in need of sharpening, making every swing, every thrust, an exercise in brute force rather than efficiency. You notice a splinter already forming in the handle, a tiny, insidious dagger promising a future irritation, a potential infection. It's a minor thing, a minuscule inconvenience, but it perfectly encapsulates the endless stream of petty tortures that make up your existence. You try to adjust your grip, but it's futile. The splinter is there, waiting. The sheer monotony of the work is a special kind of hell. Row after row, the same precise, back-breaking movement, repeated thousands of times under an indifferent sky. Your back quickly begins to ache, a deep, persistent boil of pain that radiates from your lower spine up into your shoulders. Your muscles, already protesting from the moment you awoke, scream in unison. You can feel the sweat trickling down your temples, tracing salty paths through the layers of filth on your face, stinging your eyes. It drips off your chin, onto the soil, mingling with the dust and the earth, a tiny, insignificant contribution to the vast, hungry maw of the land. Each breath becomes a conscious effort, your lungs burning, your chest heaving, There's no rhythm to it, beyond the relentless beat of your own failing body. Just the endless, soul-crushing repetition. What a way to live, eh? Just a human-shaped machine, churning out sustenance for a brutal system. The sun, if it's a clear day, becomes a relentless enemy, beating down on your exposed neck and arms, burning your skin to a raw, tender red. The dust, kicked up by every clumsy movement, coats your throat, making you cough, a dry, rasping sound that feels like sandpaper scraping against raw flesh. If it's cloudy, the damp chill penetrates your clothes, seeping into your bones, leaving you perpetually shivering, a cold that no amount of exertion seems to dispel. There is no right weather, only variations of torment. Your fingers, gnarled and thick, become stiff, your knuckles swollen. Blisters, a constant companion, begin to form on your palms, tender spots that will inevitably burst and weep, then heal into yet more calluses, building up layers of hardened skin, a grotesque armor against the continuous assault. And still, you work. The land demands it. The Lord demands it. Your stomach demands it. There is no escape from this brutal physical degradation. A brief, almost imperceptible shift in the sun's angle signals what passes for mid-morning. Your stomach rumbles, a hollow, echoing sound in your chest, a hunger that no amount of coarse pottage can truly satiate. The desire for a break, even a fleeting one, becomes an overwhelming physical sensation, a yearning for release from the relentless physical shame of your labor. You cast a glance at the sun, estimating the time, a slow, internal clock ticking away the agonizing minutes, until the whistle or shout, or whatever signal it is that marks a brief respite. It's not true rest, of course. True rest is a luxury for the dead. This is simply a pause, a temporary suspension of the most intense physical torment, allowing your body to scream in a slightly less muffled tone before the next bout begins. You just shift the pain from one weary part of you to another, a grim juggling act. The moment of break arrives, heralded by a distant cry from the reeve, or perhaps just the communal slumping of bodies around you as everyone instinctively halts their labors. You straighten up, slowly, each vertebra in your spine popping and protesting, your back screaming in protest. The relief is palpable, a brief, exquisite cessation of outward effort, but the internal agony continues unabated. You walk to the edge of the field, or to a pile of stones, and collapse, not gracefully, but in a heap of tired limbs and aching joints. Your fellow laborers do the same, their movements as stiff and uncoordinated as yours. The air is filled with the sounds of heavy breathing, the occasional cough, and the creak of overworked bodies. No one speaks much. What is there to say? It's the same ordeal, day in, day out. Silence, a shared companion, is often preferred to futile conversation. You pull out the meager contents of your midday meal, another piece of panis rusticus, perhaps a small hard wedge of cheese, often riddled with holes and smelling faintly of mildew. It's dry, crumbly, and offers little comfort. You chew slowly, each bite a conscious effort, your mouth feeling like a desert. The cheese, a rare treat, has a sharp, almost bitter taste, a stark contrast to the blandness of the bread. You crave water, always water. You reach for your leather flask, the water within lukewarm, tasting faintly of the cured hide and the minerals from the well. It's barely refreshing, simply moistening the crust of your tongue and throat. It's enough to get by, to keep you from literally dehydrating, but it's never enough to truly quench the deep, pervasive thirst that seems to be a permanent fixture in your throat. You swallow it down, a forced necessity, not a pleasure. The water is a vehicle for survival, not enjoyment. You watch the others, their faces grimed with dirt and sweat, their eyes dull. Some stare into the distance, lost in their own weary thoughts. Others chew in silence, their movements slow and deliberate. A few share a grim joke, a piece of gallows humor that speaks volumes about the futility of their shared existence. Laughter, when it comes, is a dry, cynical bark, quickly extinguished. There's no true levity here, only brief, ironic releases of tension. You think of the Lord, feasting in his hall on roasted meats and fine ale, while you gnaw on your hard bread, feeling the constant gnawing of hunger, the persistent aches in your limbs. The shame of your status is a heavy cloak, wrapping itself around you even in these brief moments of rest. There's no escape from the understanding that your life is merely a resource, a tool to be used and discarded by those above you. This is the reality of your world, painted in shades of filth, rot, and regret. And you still haven't brushed your teeth. The respite is brutally short, a brief interlude before the grind begins anew. The Reeves shout cuts through the quiet, a harsh, unwelcome sound that signals the end of your momentary reprieve. You groan inwardly, but your body, a slave to the rhythm of necessity, begins to stir. Every muscle protests, a fresh wave of ache washing over you, but you push through it. There's no choice. To refuse is to starve, or worse. You grab your tool, the familiar weight once again settling into your calloused hands, and resume the monotonous, back-breaking labor. The sun, having moved higher, feels even more relentless now, burning down on your exposed skin, exacerbating the itch of your lice-infested scalp, making the sweat ooze from every pore. The dust, previously just an annoyance, now seems to cling to your skin like a second layer of filth, mingling with the sweat to form a gritty paste. The afternoon toil is the true test of endurance. Your limbs feel heavy, sluggish, each swing of the hoe or pull of the rake requiring a monumental effort of will. Your mind, dulled by the constant physical exertion, drifts between a hazy awareness of the task at hand and a desperate longing for the day's end. The danger is ever present. A misstep, a moment of lapsed concentration, a dull blade, and an injury could occur. You've seen it happen. A fellow villager, exhausted, stumbled and drove a tool deep into his foot. The subsequent boil and festering wound, left untreated, eventually claimed him. A slow, agonizing descent into rot and fever. You're careful, therefore, but the risk is always there. A sharp, unseen edge lurking just beneath the surface of the mundane. You feel a sudden, sharp prick in your thumb. A splinter. A tiny, insignificant wound, but a potential gateway for the pervasive filth of the soil. A tiny seed of infection. You ignore it, or try to, pushing it deeper into your flesh as you continue to work. There's no time for such trivialities. The air around you is thick with the smells of the earth, of freshly turned soil, of sweat, and of something else, something vaguely unpleasant, an underlying current of decay that seems to permeate everything. It's the smell of a world without sanitation, a world where waste is simply absorbed back into the ground, where disease is an invisible, ever-present predator. Your throat feels perpetually dry, a crust of dust and thirst. You cough, a deep, rasping sound, and feel the familiar tickle of phlegm at the back of your throat. To clear it is to expose yourself to the further indignity of spitting, and the knowledge that your sputum will simply join the general miasma of the ground. So, you swallow it down, a grim, self-inflicted communion with the filth of your own body. Your clothes cling to you, damp with sweat, abrasive against your chafed skin. Each movement is a slow, rhythmic beatdown, a continuous assault on your body and spirit. This is life, stripped down to its bare, agonizing essentials, and you still haven't brushed your teeth. As the sun begins its slow, weary descent towards the horizon, casting long, distorted shadows across the fields, a new kind of exhaustion sets in. It's not just physical, but a bone-deep weariness that penetrates your very soul. The call to cease labor finally rings out, a sweet sound, but one immediately followed by the knowledge that the day's tasks are far from over. The walk home is not a gentle stroll, but a slow, dragging march, each step a testament to utter depletion. Your legs feel like leaden stumps, your feet heavy and sore in your mud-caked boots. The chill of the evening air, already beginning to creep in, offers no comfort, only another layer of discomfort to your already battered senses. You pass familiar landmarks, each one coated in the pervasive filth of the village. The communal well, its bucket encrusted with algae. The blacksmith's forge, now cooling, casting a faint glow. The various privies, mere holes in the ground, each contributing their distinct aroma to the overall bouquet of human existence. The village itself, as you approach, seems to sigh in collective resignation. The sounds are different now. The low murmur of conversations from within other hovels, the occasional cry of a child, the constant background buzz of insects. The smell is still there, of course. The ever-present miasma of human and animal waste, cooking fires, and general decay. It's the smell of home. If home means an inescapable prison of odors, your hovel, dark and uninviting, awaits. As you push aside the crude leather flap that serves as your door, the air within is stale, heavy, and cold. Your eyes adjust to the dim light, and the familiar clutter of your meager possessions emerges from the shadows. Your straw pallet, a silent reminder of the coming night's fitful sleep, waits in the corner. The only thing worse than being outside in the filth of the world, it often seems, is being inside it. There's no rest for the weary, not truly. Evening brings its own set of chores, a seemingly endless cycle of tasks that must be completed before the brief, precious hours of sleep. First, water must be fetched for the evening meal, and for whatever minimal washing might be attempted. You grab the heavy wooden bucket and make the slow, painful trek to the communal well. The water, drawn from deep within the earth, is cold, but its purity is always questionable. You see the faint, shimmering film on its surface, the occasional dead insect floating within, a constant reminder of the unseen life that thrives in such conditions. You haul the heavy bucket back, your arms aching, the water sloshing over the sides, dampening your already sodden clothes. Each drop that splashes on you feels like a cold, wet accusation. Back in the hovel, the process of preparing dinner begins. More pottage, of course. Always pottage. It's the staple, the monotonous, bland constant in a life of unpredictable misery. You stir the contents of the pot, the same pot that is served for breakfast, lunch, and countless meals before. The smell of boiling grains and roots fills the small space, a dull, earthy scent that evokes no appetite, only a sense of grim necessity. Perhaps there's a small handful of dried peas, or a few leeks, meager additions to the watery concoction. The bread, if there's any left, is dry and hard, often with a faint crust of mold forming at the edges, which you scrape off without a second thought. Waste not, want not. After all, the act of eating is a quiet affair, a ritual of sustenance, not enjoyment. The flies, drawn by the warmth of the fire and the smell of the food, buzz relentlessly, landing on your hands, your face, the food itself. You swat at them half-heartedly, a gesture of futility. They are as persistent as your hunger, as ubiquitous as the surrounding filth. Every bite is a forced acceptance of blandness, a grim fuel for the machine that is your body. After the meal, the hovel settles into a deeper quiet, broken only by the crackle of the embers in the fire pit and the occasional cough. This is what passes for leisure. There are no books, no instruments, no games beyond a few worn pieces of wood for a simple board. Conversation, if it happens, is low, tired, focused on the immediate concerns of the morrow or the shared woes of the day. Your body, despite having consumed its meager fuel, feels heavier than ever, a vessel of aching bones and tired muscles. Every joint protests, every movement a reminder of the relentless physical toll. The itch of fleas and lice, which had been a low thrum throughout the day, now seems to intensify in the quiet stillness, 1,000 tiny pinpricks of torment. You scratch, furiously, drawing blood sometimes, knowing it's a losing battle against the persistent parasitic invaders. This is where the grand romance of medieval life truly unravels. You see, when people talk about sex in medieval times, they often romanticize it, forgetting the harsh, unyielding realities of daily existence. Forget about passion and intimacy as you know it. For you, the peasant, the concept of privacy is a ludicrous fantasy. You live in a single room, often with your entire family, sometimes even with livestock. Every cough, every stir, every grunt is heard. The idea of quiet, intimate moments is simply preposterous when your grandmother is snoring 3 feet away and the chickens are roosting above your head. Who has the energy for anything beyond mere existence? Your body is a wreck. It's covered in filth, perpetually unwashed, smelling of sweat and the pervasive miasma of the environment. Personal hygiene is a concept for saints and kings, not for you. Your breath smells like a badger's armpit, your teeth are rotting, and the accumulated grime on your skin is a map of your miserable life. Then, there's the sheer physical toll. Imagine having sex when every joint screams, when your back feels like it's been flayed, when your hands are gnarled and splintered, when your body is not a source of pleasure, but a constant wellspring of pain and degradation. And the infections, dear God, the infections. Untreated venereal diseases, if you were unlucky enough to contract them, would ooze and fester, causing agonizing pain and grotesque deformities. Childbirth was a death sentence waiting to happen, a truly horrific ordeal for women, often ending in severe injuries or death, leaving survivors scarred, torn, and often unable to function normally. Who could possibly find pleasure in such a context, when the very act of procreation was fraught with such immense danger and agonizing pain? Your body is a tool for survival, not a vessel for carnal delight. It's a machine that has been broken down by labor, neglect, and disease. It's an engine that chokes on the very air it breathes. There was no romance, no subtle seduction. Sex was a grim, often painful duty, primarily for procreation, to churn out more laborers for the land, more bodies to keep the brutal cycle spinning. The lack of choice, especially for women, meant consent. As we understand it, was often non-existent. It was a transaction, a right, a necessity, rarely a desire. The constant fear of famine, disease, and the arbitrary whims of your feudal lord weighed heavily on the mind. How could one feel romantic when the specter of starvation hovered over every meal, when a simple cut could turn into a festering boil that claims your life, when the constant shame of your poverty gnawed at your soul? Sex sucked, not in a fun, exciting way, but in a profoundly sad, dirty, and often dangerous one. It was another facet of endurance, another demand placed on your battered, exhausted, and eternally filthy body. As the last embers glow and die, casting long dancing shadows that seem to mock your weary regret, the hovel plunges into near-complete darkness. The only sounds are the rustle of the wind outside, finding its way through the cracks in the walls, and the soft rhythmic breathing of those sharing your meager space. Your mind, finally granted a brief reprieve from the physical demands of the day, begins to churn, to fester. You lie on your straw pallet, the scratchy material irritating your skin, and the thoughts come unbidden, dark and relentless. You think of the dead, of neighbors who simply succumb to the perpetual filth and disease, their bodies rotting in shallow graves. You think of the living, condemned to the same endless cycle of toil and suffering. The helplessness is a physical weight, pressing down on your chest, stealing your breath. There is no escape, no true hope for a better tomorrow, only the promise of more of the same. The notion of a future beyond this immediate, brutal existence is a luxury you cannot afford. The cynical outlook solidifies in the silent dark. Hope is a fragile, easily crushed thing, a delusion for the privileged, for those who don't wake up to the taste of rot in their mouths every morning. For you, hope is a lie, a cruel joke perpetrated by those who have never truly known hardship. You pull the threadbare blanket tighter around your shivering form, a futile gesture against the cold that seems to emanate from the very earth beneath you. Your blanket silently judges you, a constant, abrasive presence. Your body aches, a chorus of protests, and the ever-present itch of lice is a maddening distraction. You try to find a comfortable position, but there isn't one. Every part of you is bruised, sore, or stiff. Sleep, when it comes, will be a shallow, disturbed thing, haunted by vague anxieties and the constant discomfort of your surroundings. The night deepens, becoming a vast, oppressive blanket. Outside, the sounds of the village quieten, replaced by the rustlings of unseen creatures, the distant howl of a dog, the mournful cry of a nocturnal bird. These sounds are not comforting. They are reminders of the wild, untamed world that presses in on your small, precarious existence. You curl into a tight ball, seeking what little warmth your own body can generate, wishing for the oblivion of deep slumber, but knowing it will be denied. Your stomach rumbles again, a hollow echo in the silence. The hunger is never truly satisfied, only temporarily appeased. The cold seeps into your bones. A constant companion. The filth of the day clings to your skin. A permanent second layer. You close your eyes, envisioning the darkness beyond your eyelids. A darkness that mirrors the bleak landscape of your future. You survived. Another day. Was it worth it? The question hangs in the stale air. Unanswered. Unanswerable. And the brutal irony? Tomorrow, the sun will rise again, and you will do it all over. And you still haven't brushed your teeth. What a glorious history indeed.